just saying that it seemed to me that everybody started off the first question the right way, which is a really good first step. I think the problem was with the interpretation of your answer. Okay? So let's go through this because, again, on the next quiz, you're also going to get one like this. And it's not so much a matter of the mechanics, it's understanding what is happening in the problem that we're not so good on. Can this side of the room all scooch back a little bit so I have a little more Thank you. Okay, so if we take a look at the first question, what I saw virtually every person in the room do, virtually, was distribute the 5, and I'm going to move this over a little bit. That gave us 5x plus 15 equals 2x plus 3x plus 15. And then I saw lots and lots of people realize that because the 2x and the 3x were on the same side, that you should do the same operation. So I saw people get 5x plus 15 equals 5x plus 15. And then I saw them subtract 5x from both sides. And then they came up, with 15 equals 15. And that looked really, really good. Jim, is there a problem? Because I guarantee you're not going to find the answer looking over that way. He's what? I'm sorry, I really truly couldn't hear you.
He said he was bleeding.
He was bleeding. Are you all right there, Michael? Okay. Now, when we get to the point where it says 15 is equal to 15, now we come over here. Is A possibly the answer? No. What about B? No. So now it's either C or D. And the question is, which one of these in it? And almost every person circled C. And I think that's because the answer to the one the other day was C. And I think they went, I remember the answer being C. The other day, the last step came out looking something like this. 0 equals 6. Does 0 ever equal 6? No. It'll never equal 6. So this is impossible. Which one of those choices, C or D, sounds like it's impossible? Everybody? C, right? There is no solution. If something's impossible, you can't get a solution. Does 15 equal 15 sound impossible? Doesn't that sound like it's always true? Guys, yes or no? So which choice sounds like it's always going to work? D. There are infinitely many solutions. So the big thing that, to me, number one really emphasizes is that we have to be aware of looking at a solution and interpreting that solution. Now, most of the time when we have an equation, it looks like A or B. It's either like 2 3/4 or 7 or negative 2 3/4 or whatever. But every once in a while, we get one of these weird ones where at the end it says 0 equals 6. Or it says 15 equals 15. And we need to be better at interpreting that answer. 0 equals 6, that'll never happen. That's impossible. Got to be choice C. There's no solution. 15 equals 15? Yeah, that's true. It's not only true now, it'll always be true. It's true for anything. For any x I put in there, it'll always work out that 15 equals 15, no matter what the x is. So that means there are infinitely many solutions because it doesn't matter what the x is, it always works. All right, so that's the first question. When you get the question on tomorrow, which is Friday, when you get Friday's quiz, you know it's going to work out to either be 15 equals 15 or something like that, or 0 equals 6 or something like that. If it says a number equals another number, like 7 equals 7, always, always, always true. There's infinitely answers. If it says something like 7 equals 15, there are no answers. So in your mind, you need to be prepared for each one of those things. Okay, now let's take a look at the next question. The next question says, graph the line y equals negative 2/3 x minus 5. And the biggest mistake I saw on this one was a problem with the slope. Now, some people were just off on this question, and they didn't come close. Guys, come on. You're better than that. Get in extra help. Do a little bit of work. You can't mess up the y-intercept. You just can't do that. there were problems with the slope. And we got to prepare a little bit better. Before we start this question, I want everybody to copy this down. Ready? Positive, negative, 0. Everybody copy that down. Have you seen that diagram before?
Yeah.
Yeah. What does that have to do with? Alan?
The way the line go?
Yeah, and what specifically what part of the line? The slope or the y-intercept? No.
Oh, man.
No, this has to do with the slope. You see, we read slopes left to right. If the slope is going up, we call it positive. Up is positive. If the slope is going down, what do we call that? Negative. And if it's a straight, flat, horizontal line, then the slope is 0. If the slope goes perfectly vertical, then there is no slope. All right, kind of weird the way I worded that, but we say there's no slope. We'll talk a little bit more about that as time goes on, but right now I want to concentrate on this part on the left here. Namely that a positive slope goes up, a negative slope goes down, then we have a 0. Let's go over to this line. What's the slope here? Negative 2/3. The minute you see that that slope is negative, how does the line have to go? Down. Please look at your paper. Does your slope go down?
Yeah.
Then that means you could possibly be right. Yes?
I didn't take this, but I was just confused. The negative, is it -2 and the -3 because it's in the middle?
It actually doesn't matter if it says this, hold on. This, or this. It's all the same thing. And at the end, I'll come back and show you why, but I don't want to lose the train of thought right now. Okay. And what's the y-intercept on this guy? -5. Now, as far as I'm concerned, Michael, as far as I'm concerned, if you did not get the y-intercept of this right, listen, this may sound harsh, but shame on you. We've been over this so many times. It's easy to find the y-intercept. It's always the number at the end. And to find the y-intercept, we just go on the y-axis. That's why we call it the y-intercept. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's where y is -5. Make that dot. If I saw that, you got 40 points. Now, the next thing I looked for was a slope of 2/3. Now, some people were just off with their slope. Most people who got it wrong did this. Watch me now, ready? Up 2 over 3, up 2 over 3. What's wrong with that?
It's supposed to be negative.
Yeah, that's a positive slope. Alan just said it's supposed to be a negative slope. So you're not supposed to go up 2 over 3. What are you supposed to do? Down 2 over 3. Now, I kind of run out of room here, so I'll go on the backside and just continue the line. Up 2 over 3. And now, I connect the dot. Okay? Any question on how to graph that? Now I want to go back to answering your question, Elizabeth. Remember how I said these are all the same way, all the same thing? I'll show you how. This looks like the 2 is negative and the 3 is positive. So that would mean I go down 2 and then 3 to the positives. The one at the end looks like the 2 is positive, so I'm going to go up 2, but I'm not going to go 3 to the right because now the 3 is negative, so I'm going to go 3 to the left. So you see how I get those 2 points no matter how I look at it? And then this one in the middle is the way I like us to look at it. The reason I like us to look at the one in the middle is I'm just going to remember, look, that's a positive slope, that's a negative slope, and I'm just going to remember 2 and 3. So by going, since it's negative, I'm just going to go down 2 over 3, down 2 over 3. Okay, to me, that's the simplest way to do it, but it does work either way. Any other questions? Okay, so you know what you got coming tomorrow. You got a quiz like that, you got a graph like this, and on top of that, you have an equation that you have to solve. I'm going to pause 30 seconds. I want you to write yourself a note on your quiz about what you need to get right that you got wrong today. Go ahead, 30 seconds. Write yourself, if you got 100, you don't have to take the quiz. You don't need to write yourself a note. If you got 100, do not take the quiz next time. 30 seconds. Write yourself a quick note about something you did wrong that you know you can get right on tomorrow's quiz. And then tonight when you go home and you do your homework, just look at that note really quick. I used to write myself little notes all the time. little reminders. I still do it. I'm 51 years old. In fact, I do it now more than I used to.
It's a way to remember.
It's so helpful. Especially, have you noticed as you get older, you have more and more things to remember, and sometimes it clutters your brain and you forget?
Yep.
So by writing yourself little notes, you remember. You guys know Mr. DeFici?
I know him.
If you went to Bay, you know Mr. DeFici. He's a great guy. All the kids love him. I remember one day going out to Mr. DeFici, out with him to his car. We're pretty good friends. And I just saw this long note written on there. And he's like, man, these are all the things I got to get done before I get home. He would put check marks as he gets them done. So this is a very common practice that successful people do all the time. Okay, let's see here. Let's talk about today's lesson. Now, I just said to you before that the next quiz is going to look a lot like today's Do It. So if you got this Do It completely right, man, you're in great shape for the next quiz. I think the next quiz is going to have 4 questions. I think 3 of them are going to be like these Do It questions, and then there'll be 1 additional question. Okay? Write the equation of a line whose slope is negative 2/3 and whose y-intercept is 0. When it says write the equation of a line, what is the overwhelming thing we always think of? Everybody?
Y equals negative 2.
Nicely. So in this case, it's going to be y equals, now what's the slope here? What's it say?
Negative 2.
-2/3, x, and what's the y-intercept? Now, you could write plus 0. There's nothing wrong with that. You would get credit. But when you add 0, you don't change anything. So you could also leave it here and just stop like this. If you were taking a test and it was multiple choice, it would stop here. Nobody writes plus 0. But if you wrote plus 0, I want you to know it is correct. But you should be able to recognize it without writing the plus 0. Okay? All right, let's take a look at the second question. Second question says, write the equation of a line that's parallel to y equals 1. Now, what do we know about parallel lines? Their slopes are, everybody? The same, equal, good. But with the same y-intercept as this guy. All right, what's the slope of the first line here? Y equals -1. Oh, that's weird. Well, what do you think the slope would be? Ah, isn't the slope always the thing that's in front of the x? Right? Where's the x? There is no x. So that means there are 0 x's, agree? What's in front of the x? No, 0.
Oh.
There are no x's. So therefore, the slope is going to be 0. Now, what's the y-intercept of this guy? What's the y-intercept of this one? -3. So I'm going to get y equals 0x minus 3, or just y equals -3. And again, the first way is correct. You would get credit for that, but on a multiple choice, they wouldn't put it the first way. They would just write y equals -3. Now, remember what we said about a 0 slope? Positive. What's this one? Negative. And what's this one? What numbers between the positives and the negatives? 0. So this, what y equals -3 means is it's a perfectly horizontal line going through -3 on the y-axis. Okay? All right, next, write the equation of a line that passes through 2, 0, and 4, -2. 2, 0, and 4, -2. Write the equation of a line. Man, how many times have we heard that? Man, a lot. As soon as I think write the equation of a line, I always think of, here we go, 2, 0, 4, -2. As soon as I do this, I always think of, what do I think of when it says write the equation of a line? Y equals mx plus b. That's always the dominant thought that's on our mind. And we understand that implication. Now, I'm going to connect these 2 dots, so I'm going to go right through them. And I'm going to look for the slope, and I'm going to look for the y-intercept, because if I get them, I can just plug them in right over there, and then I know my answer. So I always like to get the y-intercept first. It's so easy. What is the y-intercept, everybody? I don't think the y-intercept's -2. +2, right? Here's your y-intercept. It's right where it crosses the y-axis. That's what y-intercept means. So I know I'm going to have +2. Now, what's my slope? First off, take a look at this. Holy Kelly, how are you today? Is this a positive or a negative slope? Good job. What is the slope, everybody? You could say -2/2, but if you simplified that a little bit, -1. Right? We're gonna go down 1/1, down 1/1, down 1/1, down 1/1, and so on. So it's negative. You could write 1x, or you could write -2/2x. You would get full credit for that. Okay? Or in cleanest form, the way you would expect to see it on multiple choice, would be y equals -x plus 2. Okay, any questions? All right, so those are three kind of questions that you've seen now 3 days in a row on the Do It, and you're going to see those questions on your next series of quizzes that you take next week. Listen, you're well prepared for this, right? So you should be able to do well, and you know there's always a little bit of homework question about this as well. All right, so let me go to Lucky Louie here. Louie's Landscaping puts the same amount of money each week in the bank. This amount of money is added to some money he started with in the savings account. After 3 weeks, he has saved $440. After 5 weeks, he saved $480. Graph the amount of money saved by Louie below. Now, I'm just going to show you a little thing about getting started here. You notice how that says like 450 and 480? That's a pretty big amount of money, right? I want to show you a little trick about getting started here. So let's start the graph off together, and we'll scale it out, and then you guys can get to work. Do you remember how we said that, you know, the bottom is always time? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, okay? And this is always going to be the number of weeks. So let's write that down first. That's pretty easy. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is talk about dollars. And the problem is fitting the dollars on the vertical axis, agree? Because we're talking about 480 here. That's a huge number. So it's possible to, like, we could go up by 50s, but then it's really hard to read the y-intercept. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to do this, but you need to understand that this only works as long as you don't come up on the y-intercept. If you pass the y-intercept, this messes up. Watch me now, ready? I'm going to come up, I'm going to put a break. See that squiggle there? It looks like this, just in case you can't see in the back. I go like this, right down here. I just go up and I make a little break and then I come up again. That means I'm skipping a whole bunch of numbers. That's all it means. And I'm going to start with 300. And now I'm going to go up by tens. 310, 320, 330, 340, 350, and then go 60, 70, 80, 90, 400, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 500, 10, 20, 30, 40, 550s up here. So now I can do that with the break. If you don't put the break, you can't do that, okay? You gotta put the break and then keep the scale the same. I'm going up by tens all the way through. Yes?
I'm allowed to go by 20s.
You could go by 20s. There's no problem with 20s. Feel free to do that if you want to, okay? All right, now graph it, answer the question. I'll give you about 2 minutes to get that done. This is just like what we've done the last couple of days, so you should be pretty comfortable here. Yes?
I actually have to like visually show you.
Okay. Yeah, that's following the same slope, that's fine. Well, no, you do want to get to the y-intercept on that line. Yeah, you definitely want, when you label the y-intercept, it has to be where it hits the vertical axis. Okay?
If I plotted it, then it wouldn't be like off.
As long as that slope stays perfect, and you don't change the slope, you're doing everything right.
You can go up 1 over 1 or something.
Oh, yeah, sure. Doesn't 2 over 2 equal 1 over 1? Okay? No, get to work. About another minute and a half or so, guys. Okay. So, I don't have this to read. Somebody tell me how many weeks, how much money, and how many weeks, how much money. Okay, hold on. 3 weeks, 440. Okay, what's next? Okay, so I have 4 weeks, 440, and I have 5 weeks, 3 weeks, 440, and 5 weeks, 480. Now let's do the graph. Everybody see the slope? I go up 4 over 2, so it's a little easier to do 2 over 1. So once I find that out, I just work that slope a little bit, and that's where I hit the axis. And there's my line. Okay? Guys, this is art. What you just did is drawing. This is something that Miss Albuquerque might turn around and say in class, hey, do me a favor, kind of extend this line, copy it, make it look good. That's all you did. Right? And we count boxes a little bit. So we turn it into this thing called slope. But this math is very much like art. So if you can do art, you can do this. Michael, I don't think that's the slope we're working on right here, bud. Next. Y equals mx plus b. All right. I always like the y-intercept first. I think I say that every time. What's the y-intercept on this chart? Elizabeth? 380. Very good. So plus 380. That's where it goes through. And what's the slope now? We got to be careful with the slope because Alan, if you remember Alan, he asked a question before. He said, can I go up by 20s? Absolutely. No question you can go up by 20s. Now, Alan, your graph is going to look a little different than mine. Yours is going to be a little more like that, whereas mine goes a little bit up like that. But we're both going to still get the right answer in full credit, okay? If you watch here, my slope is up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. But how much is going up 2 worth? How much is it, everybody? Come on, that side of the room. If I go up 2 boxes, how much have I gone up? 20, right? So it's up 20 over 1. Up $20, 1 week. So it would be 20x plus 380. Alan, your graph would look a little bit different. Your graph was up by 20s, so your graph is going to go more like this. But you're going to go up 1 over 1, but each of your boxes is worth 20, so it's still 20 over 1. Either way works exactly the same. Okay? All right, so what is the next question underneath this? What does it say? How much does he what? How much does he save every week? $20. Very good. That's the slope. Listen, slope is called rate of change. Everybody say that with me. Slope is called? Rate of change. What's slope called, everybody?
Rate of change.
All right. What's it changing by every week? How much money is it going up by every single week? $20. Good. All right. What's the next question? All right. How much did he begin the process with in the bank? Alan? 380. Very good. Begin. Begin. What do we say is like begin? The what? The y-intercept. Very good. What's the next question? All right, a couple of different ways to get to the $720. The first one is that I can follow my graph until I hit 720. I don't know if I have enough room. But it would work. If you had enough room, that would work. Because you just go out to the weeks and see what number lines up. Like it's out here somewhere, it lines up with 720. But I can also put in the equation. I could say 720 is 20x plus 80. Then what can I do? Guys, solve. Ready? This gives me 640 equals 20x. Divide by 20. Die. 64 divided by 2 is 32. The answer is 32 weeks. It's what? Oh, 380, I'm sorry. 380 would knock that down to 340, which would be 17. Sorry. Thank you for catching that. 17 would be the right answer. Okay? Any questions at all? Alan? Okay. Now, I think we can get this comfortably understood. You guys can start. Don't get Frank. Folks, hasta la vista, vaya con Dios, toodaloo, ta-ta, arrivederci, smile a lot, ciao, arrivederci, adios amigos, see amigas, cheerio, galushus, toodaloo, ta-ta, arrivederci, smile, atta girl, Justice. You see your mistake?
Yeah.
Good.
The questions like this, well, the ones that confuse me.
Parallel. Find the slope, find the slope, find the slope, find the slope, and you gotta make it y equals. You gotta divide by 3 here, divide by 2 here, divide by 3 here. That one's already done. And then find the two that are the same. Okay. Take care, see you later.
Cindy Mata to the main office for a pickup, please. Cindy Mata.